So
I'm loud and you're not.
Is that any? How close do I need to be to get really loud?
Well, that's really loud.
Okay, that's too loud.
Look out, it's Tom Shires again.
No, I'm Mike Island again.
And this is the Shires and Island Agenda. We're all about movies and more, whether it be on HWD, Hospital Radio, More Music Variety, or streaming anytime, any place, anywhere on the Shires and Island Network.
And coming up on this week's show, we've got your favourite features and much, much more. That favourite feature starting off with this week's big three stories from the world of film.
Absolutely. The temperature will soar and Mike Island will sweat in a scorching instalment of our quiz, may contain spoilers.
And we've also got a one-shot where we discuss a major talking point, and this week it's all about a report.
It is. All that and other things we haven't even thought about yet. Now!
5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. Push his buttons and turn him on. Set from the picture to beat the motor. 900 channels watch paint on the wall. He's the hero who'll save us all. Goggletron, Goggletron, put it on, it's called a Goggletron. Goggletron, Goggletron.
Shires and Island get it wrong. Not the name of a new feature, but a couple of corrections, shall we say, from last week.
Yes, we made a couple of boo-boos and we've now got to correct them. Starting off with something that you could have expected on the playlist, but isn't.
Yes, so at the end of last week's
Talking
show...
of boo-boos.
Indeed, and more. The Search for the Holy Trail, Mike Island had an experience, he called it, watching the trailer for the much maligned London Fields. I was going to add it to the playlist for last week's show, and having watched it, to be sensitive to our younger listeners and viewers, because the playlist is also visual, that will not appear there, because it was there was too much of everything, Mike Island.
But if you search, you can find it.
If you want to go looking for it, yes, you can.
And there are sites available. Okay, then, let's get on with my apology. And this is one I do feel particularly ashamed about, given that I profess to myself to be a Game of Thrones fan.
Is there a term for that, by the way?
A Thronesian?
Yeah, is that a thing?
No, I've just invented it.
Like Trekkies and Trekkers?
A gamester? I'm not sure. You'd have to consult someone, but probably not George R.R. Martin or myself, because we know very little about Game of Thrones, it would appear. That's because the show that is going to be the first of the spin-offs and a prequel to Game of Thrones, I mentioned it last week as being entitled The Long Winter, which is a term from the series. And in fact...
So you weren't entirely wrong. You were still wrong.
Oh yeah, but it's an interchangeable...
It makes you feel better.
Yeah, it's an interchangeable term with the term that they're actually going with, which is the long night, because it was a long night of winter.
All right, night with an N.
Yes, because The Long Night was the title that was revealed prematurely, it appears, by Game of Thrones creator George R.R. Martin as the new name.
Has he got himself in trouble then? How does it work? Or is it HBO going...
Apparently HBO have got in his ear. He has a blog online called Not a Blog, and he revealed on Monday of this last week, I should also mention, HBO has informed me that the Jane Goldman pilot is not, brackets, yet titled The Long Night. That is certainly the title I prefer, but for the moment the pilot is still officially untitled. So mea culpa, mea culpa, mea culpa.
Can we look forward to an official announcement then that then proves that he was right, but he just said it too early?
Well, to be fair to George R. R. Martin and to be fair to HBO, they haven't always seen eye to eye about things. I think I'm right in saying that Benioff and Vice, the two head honchos in terms of showrunners for Game of Thrones, have got a strong degree of approval from George R. R. Martin, but they have made a couple of changes in adaptation choices that he hasn't especially liked, and George R. R. Martin hasn't been backwards in coming forwards about saying that. So maybe it is the case that they're going to go with something else, and George R. R. Martin just wants it out there that this is the title that he prefers.
It's round, it's purple, it shows you what to view. It's Mike's Big W.
So for Mike's Big W, which is also known as Freeview Film of the Week,
Random Recommendation,
which was another alternate title for this feature, is when we go through the standout films.
You say we. I don't get a TV magazine.
Did you ever get a TV magazine?
Yeah, when we used to get like Sunday papers and things, but now I'm, not at home and don't buy newspapers. That's a bit of a problem. I could mark it on my on-screen guide, but it's going to get messy when I'm watching the shows.
But this is what I wonder about. How do you know what's on then during the week?
I don't. I just watch what I watch. I very rarely will sit down and put the guide on and scroll through the channels thinking, oh, what's here,
so
what's there.
So if there's a new show, you have to find about it from somewhere else other than a guide.
Social media would effectively tell me,
yeah.
Or suggestions on the, if it's Netflix or a similar service, they might say, you've watched this, you might like.
Is this what the problem is then with sort of streaming? And I don't want to go down the islands in the stream too soon, but you're only going to get to see the sort of things that you already watch, because you're going to find out about them from going to the sort of places that you already go to.
I'm in my niche. I'm in my rut, my hole, my happy place, and I like it, thank you.
Okay then. So for this week, Freeview Film of the Week, we should start off by saying, of course, it is Remembrance Weekend. And there are a number of films that are being shown over the course of the weekend that have got the Great War in particular in mind, and that have clearly been chosen for that reason. And I want to start off by saying that on Sunday night at 9:30 on BBC One, I think I'm right in
Channel
saying.
1.
Although I think it is BBC One, if not it's on BBC Two at that time. They Shall Not Grow Old, which is the new documentary produced by Peter Jackson of Lord of the Rings fame, of course, which uses archival footage from the First World War, but he has got the people at Weta, and I think it's Weta Digital as well, his production company, to in effect colorise it, to bring it to life and to make it even more vivid. But in addition to that, he's also used lip readers to try and work out what the soldiers and all the other people that have had their images captured in archive footage, and he's actually dubbed them, and it has really grabbed people's attention when the premiere was, I think, a couple of months ago. And people
so does it have talking heads in between, or is it a story from start to finish?
I think it is simply using archive footage, but it has been, as I say, colorised and dubbed to create a sort of air of, I don't know, intimacy almost, that you simply
just snapshots
wouldn't get. Well, yeah, snapshots, but also, as I say, film footage.
Yeah, but I mean snapshots a scene here and a scene there. And
as far as I'm aware, there isn't a narrator, although I could be proved wrong on that. But it is a premiere on Sunday evening, so that's, I think, definitely one to watch either live or record it and watch it later, because it is going to be something groundbreaking, certainly. Moving on to BBC Two on Sunday night at 11:05. It's an adaptation.
Channel 2.
An adaptation of Vera Britton's Testament of Youth, starring Alicia Vikander and Kit Harington. Of course, Alicia Vikander playing the author of Testament of Youth, which is a story about how a young independent-minded woman who I think was going to university at Oxford, I apologise if it was Cambridge, decided to become a nurse during the First World War, and that ultimately led to her becoming a pacifist. But it's been a story that's been adapted multiple times, and I think has been on the school syllabuses in the past. I'm not sure whether it currently is for GCSE, but it's certainly a worthwhile watch on BBC Two on Sunday evening. And I will also say a very different First World War film on Sunday morning at 11 a.m. on Film 4.
Channel number 15.
Correct.
Oh, come on.
If you can keep that one in mind, you're going to do very well over the course of this particular link.
16, here we go.
Oh, What a Lovely War, which takes a completely different approach to telling the story of the First World War.
The Lennon film.
Because, yes, it's got John Lennon in a cameo role. I think the Beatles collectively were approached to have roles as a family of soldiers, but ultimately Lennon was the only one that could do it. Oh, What a Lovely War. Richard Attenborough directs a massive all-star cast with the likes of Maggie Smith, Dirk Bogarde, John Gielgud, John Mills, Kenneth Moore, Laurence Olivier, Jack Hawkins, Corinne Redgrave, Michael Redgrave, Vanessa Redgraves, Ralph Richardson, Ian Holm, and many others, in a sort of absurdist, surreal musical telling the story of the First World War, and that is on, as I say, Film 4 on Sunday morning, 11 a.m. Moving on to other non-armistice weekend related films. Notting Hill on Saturday evening, 9 p.m. ITVB.
It's not even a proper channel. I'm not answering.
No, you hold your hands up.
I only do the
ITV.
real channels.
It's channel number 26.
26.
Notting Hill, which of course is the film that paired up the two biggest 1990s rom-com stars.
I think so. Other than Richard Gere.
We may get onto other big rom-com stars later on in the show. Julia Roberts and Hugh Grant in the second of the... Is it trifecta of Richard Curtis films?
So we're going with Four Weddings, Notting Hill, Into Love Actually?
Into Love Actually. They're the three, aren't they? I mean, he's been involved in many others, but...
What else has he done? The Boat That Rocked, was that him?
I think The Boat That Rocked was him. About Time.
Another one not for our younger listeners. About Time.
Wasn't it about time? The one with Feldman Lad from the First Order and Doctor Strange's Squeeze.
Oh yeah, I'm thinking about the Justin Timberlake one where you've got to get time in your arm.
Okay, I've never heard it called that before, but
well, no, 'cause everyone's got a certain amount of time, and it's like a little wristwatch, and you can borrow time off other people. You can buy time if you're rich.
I think you should write a short story, and we might be able to go somewhere with it.
Thank you.
Okay then, so that's Notting Hill on Saturday night at 9, but also at Saturday night at 9. How would you feel about watching a James Bond in a non-James Bond film, but playing a spy?
Oh, I like it.
How about The November Man, which is of course appropriate given the month of the year it is? Pierce Brosnan's attempt to not be James Bond in a James Bond film.
How does it work out? Is it the second greatest film ever made?
It should be, but unfortunately it isn't. Although I do think the Irish Dreamtime production, because I remember the name of Pierce Brosnan's production company.
It's no Evelyn.
Are working
Evelyn?
On a sequel to The November Man, because it's based
December Man?
It's based on a series of books. He plays a former CIA agent who has got a checkered past and is forced out of retirement to try and...
Is he playing American then?
Yes, he is.
Oh.
Whether he does an accent, I don't know. Do you think of Pierce Brosnan as
Heard
being...
his voice like that.
It's sort of the Sean Connery approach that I can be playing Ukrainian or Lithuanian, but I'm still doing the voice. So yes, that's The November Man on the Sony Movie Channel.
Channel number 35?
32.
Oh!
Saturday at 9 p.m. I will quickly also mention Mud, which is on...
That's right now.
No, unfortunately not. Sunday, 12:15 a.m. Channel 4.
Channel 4.
It's Matthew McConaughey in the Jeff Nichols directed effort from 2012, critically acclaimed. It's regarded as one of the best Southern movies of recent years. McConaughey plays a seeming drifter or possibly hermit on a boat who is met by a couple of teenagers, one of whom is Cyclops. From the X-Men, and also what was the Steven Spielberg film earlier on this year? About the
Ready Player One.
Ready Player One, yes, the lead in that, Ty Sheridan. It's a coming of age story really about these two young teenagers who help out this drifter and try and find out what's his story and why is he hiding out on a boat. And his name is Mud.
Hope y'all enjoy it.
I will also just quickly mention that later on in the week, if you like 12 Angry Men, that is on Film 4 on Tuesday at 12:40 p.m. and that is our Freeview Film of the Week. It's one of the great courtroom dramas of American Hollywood history.
Welcome back. You've been blindsided all night, Mike. Are you ready for the final round?
Uvavu.
For tonight's grand prize, a full pack of used sparklers. Your category is hot stuff. All you have to do is name the sizzling show or movie from the characters I'll give you. There are bonus points for stops, drops and or rolls, and this round may contain spoilers. The quiz ends when there's smoke but no fire. Are you ready to begin?
Iran!
Burn, baby, burn! Begin. Sam Jones and Penny Morris.
Sam Jones. I know the actor Sam Jones, but can we mention him anymore? Sam Jones.
Sam and Penny.
Sam and Penny. Is it?
They're always on the scene.
Not the Rocky Horror Picture Show.
That's Janet. Damn it, Janet. I love you. There's Sam, there's Penny, there's Elvis. There's Trevor.
Trevor.
There's Station Officer Steele. Norman. Steelis.
Oh, it's
Bella.
Fireman Sam.
Claude Littner and Karen Brady.
The Apprentice.
Danny Butterman and Nicholas Angel.
Oh, I know this one. It's Hot Stuff. Hot Fuzz. Oh, it's all Heat themed. I've just got it.
Yes, it's all Heat themed. Get with it. Ripper and Hamish Abernathy.
Ripper.
Hamish.
It's The Hunger Games.
Get more specific.
Catching Fire.
Absolutely, we are. Sienna Brooks and Robert Langdon.
It's one of the Da Vinci Code ones. Is it Inferno?
Yes. Alder McGregor and Miss Rose.
Mr. McGregor from Peter Rabbit and Friends. Was there one where they set the house on fire?
Something gets set on fire, it's not a house. Alder McGregor and Miss Rose.
Miss Rose.
Set on an island somewhere, I think.
Miss Rose.
An outsider.
Driving Miss Daisy?
An outsider comes to investigate, and then things heat up from there.
Body heat?
It's a big straw person.
The Wicker Man.
It's the Wicker Man. Will Graham and Dr. Hannibal Lecter.
Oh, Red Dragon, because dragons are hot.
See what I did there? Indeed. Harry Dalton and Rachel Wando.
That's not helping me.
James Bond versus Volcano.
Dante's Peak. The third best film.
Vincent Hanna and Neil Macaulay.
Vincent Hanna
and Neil Macaulay.
They're the Pet Shop Boys?
They're not. They're bank robbers that mess up. And then the forces come down on them, but they feel on account of...
Heat. It's heat.
It is heat.
Right.
Kirby Keeger and Jules.
Is Jules a person? Or
Yeah, Jules is a
animal?
person played by a very famous actress.
Okay.
And Kirby Keeger is... he's in Mighty Ducks.
Emilio Estevez. It's Young Guns. Does guns get hot when they're shot?
No, well, the guns are fired, so that would work, but it's not. It has an awesome song by John. Is it John? No, it's not John Parr, is it? Or is it?
St. Elmo's Fire.
St. Elmo's Fire. John Parr. It is. Yeah. Man in Motion. Margaret and Carrietta White.
Margaret White and Carrietta White.
Carrietta.
Carrie. Is it Carrie? Is it the film
It's
Carrie?
Carrie. Yes.
Carrie.
Get out of the gym as fast as you can. Cedric Diggory and Victor Crumb.
Harry Potter and the Goblet of Fire.
Oh, you're on it now. He likes it. Michael Weston and Sam Axe.
Is it a horror film?
It's not actually.
Because it should be, shouldn't it?
It's an American TV show.
American TV show. Sam Axe.
Spy type thing where he's disavowed by his own government and then decides to start
Mission
helping people.
Impossible. It's Burn. Is it Burn Notice?
Burn Notice.
Burn Notice.
Yes. Bert Signot Quigley and Mike Bayleaf Wilson.
Is this a TV series?
TV series, ITV drama, kind of 80s, 90s, Sunday night at 9.
London's Burning.
London's Burning. Fire.
Available on Drama, Jan 20.
Guy Montag and Clarice.
Guy Montag. Not Clarice Montag. They're not a couple.
No, I think they do become a couple, but
She doesn't take his name. No.
Books are bad.
Buck Rogers?
No, books, Books, as in the things that you leaf through are bad.
Okay. Burning down the library?
Well, they would do because they wouldn't allow
Fire
them.
starters.
But if they found a library, they would send the forces in. Well, in effect, because they're not allowed to read books because books are bad. They might give you ideas and thoughts about things.
Eyewitness about the Amish community?
No, it's kind of a dystopian future novel originally, and then
Divergent.
It's a good dystopian novel.
Oh, there's Maze Runner Scotch Trials.
It's not. It's not.
Didn't you go for that one?
It was on the list, but it was one that I didn't include in the end. Fahrenheit 451.
Never got it.
And finally, Stephen and Dennis McCaffrey.
Backdraft.
Absolutely, my God. Genius! You winner!
wisely, for while the true agenda will bring you life, the false agenda will take it from you.
You're listening to the Shires and Island Agenda. Time now for the big news of the week with the big stories, massive stories, Mike Island.
Yes, it's Rebel Wilson, the Australian actress most known for, well, I suppose, Bridesmaids.
Being annoying?
Maybe Pitch Perfect these days. But she said that she's deeply sorry after claiming to be the first ever plus-size girl to star in a romantic comedy. She made the comments when she was on Ellen DeGeneres' chat show, appropriately enough called Ellen.
You can say anything you want on there. You don't need facts, you don't need figures, statistics. You just go and say what you want, and Ellen likes it.
Well, yeah, she made the comments then, but it was immediately pointed out the likes of Monique and Queen Latifah had led rom-coms before she initially questioned whether they counted as even being plus-sized. However, Rebel Wilson subsequently said that she neglected to show proper respect, admitting what I said was not only wrong, but also incredibly hurtful. In a couple of well-intentioned moments, hoping to lift my fellow plus-sized women up, I neglected to show the proper respect to those who climbed this mountain before me, like Monique, Queen Latifah, Melissa McCarthy, Ricky Lake, and many others. Of course,
Dawn French, has she done much film work?
No,
she's in the Harry Potter film. She's a ghost in one of the paintings.
Yes, but this is the whole argument.
But not a rom-com.
Well, no, that's what I was about to come on to. It's sort of developed into an argument about film classification and how you classify different genre and different types of film, and what is a rom-com and what is a comedy that's got romantic elements in it.
Whereas for me, the bigger issue is the fact that the road that you have to tread in having this conversation, in that, oh, you didn't say so-and-so was a plus size. Well, yeah, but isn't that a little bit rude, in a sense? To then go, oh, well, sorry, I omitted to mention this person, but then you're effectively calling that person large.
But I suppose the key here is that Rebel Wilson had said she was the first person to star in a plus-size romantic comedy. The first plus-size person to star in a romantic comedy. That's the point. She was sort of claiming it as though this is a mark of distinction for me and for me alone, because I'm the first and I'm therefore unique by being the first.
Are hers the most successful? Could she have argued that she's the most successful plus-size rom-com?
Well, no, the point is it hasn't actually come out yet. The film in...
But her other work surely stands...
Yes, but that's not a but she's not the lead in it. She isn't the romantic foil for whoever the male interest is. She is the sort of supporting star in those films. And the film that she was actually promoting was... let me get this right.
Is she Night at the Museum 3?
Is she?
I think she shows up as a security guard in...
Is that the London set one?
Yeah.
Okay. I
think she is.
Okay, right. But that's not a romantic comedy, is she?
Well, who's she fall in love with now? It might be the Pharaoh guy. She falls in love with
Azaria?
One of the dummies.
Okay. But no, she was promoting the film Isn't It Romantic, which comes out soon. She plays a woman who gets trapped in a rom-com.
Right, I've got issue with this, because I read this in the notes, because, I read the notes. How and why?
Well, I don't know. The film that the TV series this immediately made me think of, and that I actually really enjoyed. Not many people will remember it. ITV made a series, I want to say back in 2008, sort of time, Lost in Austin. Did you ever hear of that?
Nope.
It was all about a young woman from 2008 or whenever it came out.
Well, from Austin, Texas, in the US of A.
Who
hope you all enjoy it.
Who was a huge fan, he does all the accents, a huge fan of the works of Jane Austen, and she basically goes through a door in her new house and ends up in Pride and Prejudice. And she is sort of taken into the family as someone that's just staying with them as a guest, and she's got to sort of try and figure her way out, while what she ends up accidentally doing is sending Elizabeth Bennet, as played by young Gemma Arterton, into the world of 2008. So it was actually, I thought that was actually quite a good series. But no, whether that is the sort of line that this goes down, and whether it sort of plays on the tropes, which I suppose it does, but if they're actually making if it is going to be part of the film that she isn't a conventional star for a romantic comedy, does that undermine her sort of trying to claim it as a big breakthrough?
Why you speak agenda?
You're listening to the Shires and Island Agenda.
So it appears Taron Egerton no longer likes Kingsman because he's too busy shooting arrows at them.
Maybe so, although to be fair, when he was talking to Yahoo, which yes, still exists, I was a bit surprised.
Yahoo!
We seem to be having that sort of a day.
Hope you're all enjoying it.
Promoting his new movie, Robin Hood, the Welsh actor Taron Egerton, who starred as Eggsy in the first two Kingsmen films.
Is that Eggsy, as in eggs?
Yes, it's his nickname. I think his name is it Gary Eggsy. Yeah,
How do you get the nickname?
I'm not sure. Gary Eggsy Unwin is his name in the films. But yes, he confirmed to Yahoo. Are you going to do it again?
No.
Okay. I'm not in...
Yahoo!
I'm not in the...
Hope you all enjoyed it.
I'm not in the new Kingsman, but we can rule out Texas listening to us. That doesn't mean I won't ever be in Kingsman again. I was with Matthew, referring to director Matthew Vaughn, as little as a few days ago. I've got a missed call from him this morning. We're still very much in business together. It's just that his next journey in that universe doesn't involve me.
And we're saying that that's because the thought is that the next one is actually a prequel, therefore his character might not even be alive when that film's set.
Yes, it was confirmed earlier on this year that Matthew Vaughn is working on a prequel to Kingsman. Well, the first one's Kingsman, The Secret Service. The second one is Kingsman, The Golden Circle. The third one, I don't think there's been any sort of title that has been... The Great Game is one that is being touted for what is going to be a prequel that is set during the First World War, to the build-up to the First World War, at least. And there's already been talk of the likes of Ralph Fiennes, Brad Pitt, Rachel Weisz all appearing in it. But the start date for production for this is all a bit confused, because some of the interviews seem to suggest that Kingsmen 3 with Taron Egerton would be the first one to be produced. Others have suggested that it would be this prequel, whether they could be back to back, unclear at the moment. But it would be quite a statement to just rule him out of the series entirely, Taron Egerton's character, because it has been his story thus far in the films. So.
That's true, but he should have picked up the phone.
You see.
That's it.
Did
missed your shot.
You didn't get this trouble with Ask Jeeves.
The agenda has taught you well.
You're listening to the Shires and Island Agenda.
No, I think it still exists, but it's now ask.com rather than Ask Jeeves.
Okay.
But he was getting old anyway, he's probably retired.
Okay.
We're recording.
We're definitely recording. Okay.
This is actually the show right now.
Wow. Okay. So then, released in the United States and in the UK in the last week, it is The Nutcracker and the Four Realms. But you wouldn't have noticed, because I don't think the promotional work has been excessive.
I've seen one of those video
I've seen the video.
boards.
Okay.
You know, the kind of video display boards, poster type things where it moves.
Yes.
They have them at all the train stations nowadays. With Keira Knightley looking very kind of princessy or fairish. I'm not sure what she is. But I was generally quite excited by this project because I've seen the ballet, liked it a lot. I think the music's far better than what happens on stage. But that's because it's ballet, no one speaks. So the story's a bit far out anyway, and it's sometimes a little bit difficult to follow how they get from A to B to C. So the idea of a Disney-fied spoken version of that tale on a grander scale, I don't know if it borrows the music from Tchaikovsky or not.
Does, yes.
So that to me is a recipe for success. I think the problem is Disney again scheduling. They know they've got Mary Poppins out at the end of the year, and I think it's too much in too short space of time.
Do you also think there's a bit of, looking at the the trail that was released, it does look very redolent of Alice in Wonderland, the Tim Burton films. Now, it's not that those weren't successful, they were successful, but does it need to be a bit more distinctive? I know that there is a whole ballet sequence in the film. Would it have actually been better to play into that and say this is something completely different to anything that you've
And had it been
seen before?
a dance film, effectively?
Yes, or an out-and-out musical. Why didn't they pursue that avenue rather than making it a bit more generic and trying to fit a sort of box of this is Disney's fantasy film for this year? And as you say, the scheduling hasn't been particularly good. Just to give you some numbers so you sort of know why we're talking about it as a relative failure, it was $130 million it was filmed for. In the United States last weekend, made $20 million.
Okay, how much is that per realm? Do the math.
And
$5 million per realm.
$58.5 million worldwide over the course of the weekend, which is not very good. It's the worst opening for a wide Disney release since the BFG 2 years ago, which again really underperformed. A Wrinkle in Time earlier on this year didn't do well either. Is it that there are just now too many of these big budget fantasy films for you to make yours distinctive. If every film that Disney releases that is a sort of fantasy film has got absolutely outstanding, overblown CGI, what is there to tell them apart?
I think that's a very good point. And the other problem is, have they kind of marketed themselves out of success in the sense of Nutcracker being a ballet? Does it have a stigma of being something quite stuffy?
It's also one of those things where, as far as I am aware, and I could be completely wrong about this, people who are really into ballet, and you've sort of got to be really into it if you're into ballet, kind of see the Nutcracker as a...
It's populist, isn't it?
It's the populist end of the ballet spectrum, so they're not going to go and see a film that is going to popularise it even more. But any ballet to someone that isn't into ballet seems quite elitist. And I'm not saying it is, I'm simply saying that's a view that I've heard touted. Therefore, they were trying to thread a needle anyway with this.
And also, once again, it almost sounds like a joke, I walk through the turnstile. It's not even a turnstile now. You scan your card, you walk through at Leeds Station. To the left, by Boots, is the Keira Knightley moving display board thing. Over my head, the full length of the kind of walkway as you walk into where the automatic ticket gate things are, is Leeds City Grand Nutcracker running for 2 weeks at Christmas. So is it the point of, if you're going to go see it, are you going to go see it on stage as it was meant to be, and therefore the appeal of some of your favourites doing an Alice in Wonderland-esque adventure really isn't going to cut it?
I think you've made a very strong point indeed. There have been many adaptations, as fair to say, of it over the years, and none of them have been especially successful. So this one has at least got the credit of being the most successful, least successful adaptation of the Nutcracker.
In between, how can we be wrong with Mike Island's In the Stream? Shires and Agenda, HWD, Hospital Radio, more music variety, and also streaming 24/7. Well, it's available 24/7. It's not going round on a loop 24/7, thank goodness, on the Shires and Island Network on YouTube.
Yeah, very good. And HWD Hospital Radio as well every single week. Netflix, the sort of purveyor. No, is that the wrong word? What word am I looking for?
I don't know. Say the rest of it.
Distributor of material like London Fields, I would have thought a couple of years ago, but now they're going down the very family-oriented market. They're really trying to make inroads on Disney's turf.
And they're doing well, actually.
Yes.
No Malone's a big hit at the moment. I know a lot of families in the run up to Christmas enjoying the Netflix original No Malone. Look into it. You won't regret it.
Is it a play on the Macaulay Culkin?
I couldn't possibly say.
But for legal reasons.
Reasons?
Yes, it's been confirmed this week that Netflix are launching 6 new animated projects spanning film and television and springing from the minds of some of the most acclaimed names in said animated
So when you say film
media.
and television, we're talking cinematic releases for those and streaming for the other ones?
No, it's streaming for all of them, but some of them are one-off productions.
Streaming films and streaming shows.
Streaming films, which I guess you'd sort of say are the equivalent of... Was it movies, the better way of putting it, I guess, than anything else. But yes, My Father's Dragon is coming out, 2D animated...
Excellent. I knew you had a dog, but my goodness.
A 2D animated family feature from Oscar-nominated director Nora Toomey from The Secret of Kells. The Willoughbys, an adaptation from the Lois Lowry novel of the same name by writer and director Chris Pern. That's the man behind Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs 2. That's already in production, has the likes of Ricky Gervais, Maya Rudolph, Will Forte, Martin Short, and Jane Krakowski all starring in it. And it's actually Meg Lefevre, who's the scriptwriter for Inside Out, who is writing My Father's Dragon. So lots of other productions as well, the likes of, I think it's Cosmic Hero, Cosmic Boy, Kid Cosmic, from Craig McCracken, the man who is the mastermind of the Powerpuff Girls Trash Truck, which is a series all about a dirt-covered 6-year-old boy with a big imagination and an even bigger best pal, a great honking, snorting trash truck.
Are you aware of Dino Trucks?
I am not, no, fill me in.
Effectively, prehistoric, mechanical dinosaurs that are kind of like diggers and big trucks and things.
So
just hanging out.
Dinobots. But for even younger children?
Yeah.
Okay.
Decent.
So, is this a wise move on Netflix's part to diversify?
I think the more competitive the market gets, particularly with the advent, not of DC Universe, let's not kid ourselves, but the advent of Disney Play, is that the fight for the $6.99, $7.99, $9.99 a month, whatever the particular tier may be, becomes more fierce. And if you're a mum and dad who are enjoying, Making of a Murderer Series 2 or whatever it is, then you get more bang for your buck if your kids can also enjoy the same streaming service you do, which is the beauty of the amount of content and the diversity that there is. So it makes sense for them to play to all audiences, because otherwise you can go to Disney or you can go to Amazon Prime. But if you can get it all under one roof and it's all original content as well, not just kind of reruns, then you're going to stick with the service that's giving you more value for money. Netflix seem to be throwing stuff out there.
I'll also quickly mention the sixth one is a limited series from Jorge Gutierrez, the man behind Book of Life, entitled Maya and the Three. He's described it as a Mexican Lord of the Rings, but hilarious. So
I think there are some laughs in Lord of the Rings.
Okay. And any time that Merry and Pippin are on screen is very funny.
Treebeard. He's
Yeah.
quite amusing with the council he holds with all his tree friends.
Netflix have got to fight for the right to parlay content into cash.
When you have to agenda, don't talk.
You're listening to the Shires and Ireland Agenda.
So it seems that baddies are the new goodies, or goodies are the new baddies, because we seem to have so many groups of anti-heroes and the likes of the Suicide Squad, Deadpool, and we cheer for these good baddies, but it turns out that our actual pure goodies might be doing more evil than the baddies.
Yeah,
Confused?
This is all because...
Hope you all enjoyed it.
This is because, and I have to be honest, I didn't expect to be referring to a report by the American Academy of Pediatrics during this week's show. But yes, they have produced a report entitled Violence Depicted in Superhero-Based Films Stratified by Protagonist, Antagonist and Gender. And they found that protagonists, so that's the heroes in superhero movies, commit 23 acts of violence per hour compared to just 18 per hour committed by antagonists. They also found out that male characters were nearly 5 times more likely than female characters to be violent, 34 times per hour for men compared to 7 per hour for women. Now, to deal with the latter statistics first, the differential between men and women, is this quite simply the fact that in superhero films at the moment, the majority of superheroes are male?
I think that would be fair to say.
So that is therefore why they're going to be the ones committing violent acts, whether they're the goodies or the baddies. That is, the female characters have been primarily there to support in one way or another. Obviously, that's changing, and we can look forward to the release of Captain Marvel and Wonder Woman. It's the general argument from the report that seems to be that, to me anyway, reading it, seems to be that villains commit less acts of violence, but isn't that simply because the heroes are all about preventing the villains committing more acts of violence? The acts of violence that villains could potentially commit are proportionately greater than the acts of violence the heroes commit trying to stop them.
Yeah, and I'd also have to ask, when they've looked at protagonist and antagonist, is that purely lead in both cases? So, for example, if a hero comes under attack by the minions, so to speak, of a villain, do those acts of violence still count? Because the big fight with the actual villain will probably be at the end of the film. So therefore that villain will probably not have got their hands dirty so much throughout all the film, and the goodies will have been fighting their underlings to eventually have the final showdown at the end, which means, of course, the goodies are going to commit more acts of violence because they're literally fighting their way to the boss.
That's very much the case. To go into a little bit more detail from what they say, the most common act of violence associated with protagonists in the film was fighting, 1,021 total acts, followed by the use of a lethal weapon, 659, destruction of property, 199, murder, 168, and bullying, intimidation, torture, 144, all of which surpass those same acts committed by antagonists.
Is it murder if your government says it's all right?
That's a big question.
For example, if you're the Avengers,
just to throw in.
You're the Avengers, and the higher ups have said that you're going in to deal with this, then it's war, isn't it? So is that technically murder?
If the president does it, it's not illegal. That's me doing Frank Langella as Richard Nixon. I think it's worth pointing out that the year in which, or the 2 years in which the study analysed films from, was 2015 and 2016. They classified major characters as either protagonist or antagonist, and used a standardised tool to compile specific acts of violence portrayed in the films. What films came out in 2015, 2016? My mind immediately went to, wasn't that the year that Batman v Superman and Captain America Civil War?
So you got hero on hero action.
So I'm starting to wonder, has that really pushed the totals out of sync somewhat? But are you aware, when you're to move on to a more general idea, are you aware of the sheer quantity of violence in superhero films, and do you occasionally think this is a bit too much? Does part of you harken back to the Superman series from the 70s and 80s when there were other acts of heroism going on, display of powers even?
Yeah, although I tend to find that on the whole, much of the violence tends to be fantasy violence, which I'm not as offended by. Whereas if it's two guys just scrapping in the street and it's a very bloody affair, that's one thing. Whereas if it's guys throwing cars at each other, or buildings being toppled and the like, I think that's slightly different, because I can't go out and do that. I try, just doesn't work out.
Is there perhaps a different category for, or should there be a different category for comparing the Incredibles to other superhero films? So because it's a superhero film, but it's also an animated film, which puts it on a different sort of scale. And would it be better to have more films that were like that, and that weren't even realistic in the fact that their characters are CGI and look like they're CGI? Because then you would get. I mean, we've had a lot of emphasis on the idea of R-rated superhero films. Well, isn't there sort of a case for going the other way? Could you imagine a Marvel Universe film that was a U?
Would people want to see it?
That's what
I think the audience is kind of dictated, and maybe the success is dictated, that's the formula. What we see is what people want, or what people think they want. And to diverge from that, you're basically making Captain Underpants, aren't you? Which has its audience and will make its money, but isn't going to really stand up against Civil War or the Winter Soldier or the Avengers.
Well, no, the stats prove it.
Where's my sequel? Where's my sequel? I said, where's my sequel? Or prequel?
First one, pretty good. Second one, best of the lot. Third one, Justin Timberlake. Fourth one, time travel adventure gone wrong. Do we need a fifth/reboot? Maybe it's the first one.
Maybe so. I can say first one, liked it but seen it too much. Second one, fell asleep.
Oh dear.
Third and fourth ones haven't seen at all, and I've avoided the various Christmas ones like the plague.
Shrek the Halls, and there's a Halloween one as well, I think.
Is there? Okay. I did like Puss in Boots though, the spin-off, so I thought that was worthwhile. But only 7 years since the Shrek franchise was last on our screens with Puss in Boots, I think I'm right in saying. But such huge financial success, was it inevitable it was going to come back?
I think so. I was dismayed by the fourth one, because I've said it before, but I think it's a golden rule of storytelling, is that if you have to resort to time travel to tell a story, then chances are you've done something wrong before that point.
Yeah, Mr. Zemeckis.
But that's a film and a franchise based on time travel.
Okay.
I'm talking about the idea of we tell a story. Oh, we've kind of painted ourselves into a corner, or done everything we can do. I know, let's go back in time and then revisit our characters when they were better, to be honest, or more interesting.
So you're not looking forward to Infinity War 2?
If it's done cleverly, but that's
We're going on a digression there. Is the problem for the Shrek series? And by the way, we should say that the news story that we're sort of referring to is the fact that DreamWorks and Despicable Me mastermind, I don't know whether mastermind has been
grew.
Yeah, he grew. As Christopher Melandrinis has been brought in to oversee a reboot, although it might not be a reboot, it might be a continuation, because he's already talking about using the same actors. There we go. To oversee the Shrek series. But is part of the problem, Shrek was a postmodern film. And what's the term for postmodern? Because is that where we're at now? Once you've deconstructed the Disney films and fairy tale stories already, how can you do that again
genre?
with the same sort of novelty?
do you have to have Shrek team up with a band of people and you take on superhero films?
Okay.
And you do it that way rather than doing it with Disney films and fairy tales.
But that was Shrek's niche, though, wasn't it? He's an ogre. How many other situations is an ogre applicable to?
It could be the Hulk of the group.
I suppose he could. I suppose so. This is our you superhero film.
That's how I'm going to do it. Yeah.
Okay, but it's not a film that you were especially looking forward to seeing. Was this a story?
Shrek Squad, Suicide Shrek. I like my privacy.
If you were going to do it, would you bring the cast back, or is there?
I think it has to be done because they're just that iconic. I mean,
yeah, but didn't people say that about Sean Connery? When Sean Connery was Shrek.
I like my privacy.
You're listening to the Shires and Island Agenda.
Father to a murdered son, husband to a murdered wife, and I will have my agenda.
Now, I'm really going to have to hand over to you for this. I know the plot of the series.
Yep.
I'm aware of the Netflix original, where I thought was a sequel series, turns out it's a prequel series.
Yes.
And now we're getting other in-universe films.
Yes, we're talking about Breaking Bad because it's been reported this week that Vince Gilligan, the mastermind behind
Gru,
yeah, the mastermind behind the original series Breaking Bad and the prequel series Better Call Saul, is working, and it seems like he's close to sort of proper production of a sequel that is going to follow a character of an escaped kidnapped man and his quest for freedom. And it has been strongly hinted that this is referring to the character played by Aaron Paul in Breaking Bad. I think his name was Jesse Pinkman, who was the assistant to the chemistry teacher turned methamphetamine dealer, Walter White, as played by Zordon, played by Bryan Cranston, yes, before he became a giant disembodied head. And I don't know, we're talking about it as though it could be in the shared universe, it could be a direct follow-on. When you've got such a critically acclaimed series, is there an argument that just leave it? You don't need to take it any further, because it was a series, and I think this is the same for the prequel Better Call Saul, that builds gradually, and it's all about small character moments interspersed with extraordinary acts of violence.
So a short form film effectively wouldn't be the right kind of form for it?
Well, that's what I'm thinking, but I suppose if they're saying, well, it's not really a direct continuation in the sense that it's not following the same lead character, although Bryan Cranston Zordon has confirmed that he would love to be involved if at all possible, although if you've seen the finale of Breaking Bad, you know that might be a challenge unless they use flashback. And maybe the idea of taking a different character on a different type of journey is something that could be realised in film, but unclear as of yet whether this is going to be for a streaming service or whether it's going to be released as a cinema film. But I would assume it's going to be streaming primarily. That's the assumption I think we can make.
And it leads to our next piece, which is about brains.
Yes, it is. I don't remember Andrew Lincoln when he was in Teachers, but apparently he's done well for himself over in the United States fighting against zombies. And he's
in a tough spot at the moment, though, isn't he?
Yes, he is. He made his exit, his character Rick Grimes made his exit from the post-apocalyptic drama Walking Dead, or The Walking Dead, earlier on this week. And it was thought, when it was announced that he was going to be leaving, it would be a permanent exit and the character would be killed off. Well, I think we can reveal, because it has now aired in this country as well as in the United States, that his character actually survives. Is whisked off in a helicopter after trying to save all his friends by blowing up a bridge. And there is now confirmation that there are going to be at least 3 films, whether they're going to be made for TV, the AMC network is where it airs in the United States, The Walking Dead, that follow what happens to his character. And they do seem to be hinting at sort of what we were saying as regards the Breaking Bad sequel. It is going to be a different type of story that they're going to tell with this character. And if it's a genre show, do you have more appreciation for understanding of why they might want to do that?
So they're saying it's not going to be kind of zombie stuff.
No,
or
I'm saying,
battling zombies
I'm
elsewhere.
saying because this is a story that involves zombies and sort of out of the ordinary sort of stuff, you can tell maybe a more epic style of storytelling in a film. So having one of your characters transition off to be in a film works in a way that perhaps Breaking Bad, which was a bit more, I'll say, restrained perhaps in its storytelling approach, it would be a bigger departure.
Yeah, they can definitely up the ante and up the scale, can't they? But this is all so that I assume he could spend more time at home with his family, which seems to be the behind the decision. Then he can go and film for what would be relatively a shorter period, and then still go and be a family man, and yet the character lives on and still gets paid.
Which I suppose
that's what it's all about.
I was going to say is the most important thing. Were you never tempted by The Walking Dead?
No, just it's not that I'm bothered by zombies, but
well, you would be, and you should.
Well, I think I'd take one on. Well, they don't walk very fast. They're not very clever. As long as I don't get bitten, I'm all right, aren't I? Quite easily have, well, not been my sequel or prequel, but just another incarnation of a story that we've seen in animation. We've seen it in live action a few times. Disney seemingly, they don't own it, of course, because otherwise this one wouldn't exist. But they've kind of, I think they've made it their own, and in my mind, Jungle Book is a Disney property, even though it's out there for anyone to use. And of course, the search for the Holy Trail continues because Mowgli, Legend of the Jungle, the trailer is out there, and once again, it seems like it's a very savage affair.
Yes, I suppose they want to differentiate it from the
Disney Jungle Book, which was also quite dark and savage.
Yeah,
the live action one.
But going from what you've seen in the trailer, and you're going to talk us through the trailer in a second. Do you think it looks even more that way? I know that people have been talking about the fact that Andy Serkis is involved. No one knows motion capture work like Andy Serkis. Therefore, they seem to be really leaning into not just making the animals look realistic, but also upping the ante as regards getting the performance of the actors through. Maybe that's something that they can use to differentiate it. But does it look darker?
It does. I'm excited by the cast as well. So to talk you through the trailer very, very briefly. Mowgli is born, discovered in the jungle, raised by wolves, has a few adventures, and then seemingly, or at least the trailer leads us to believe, that he rejoins human civilization for a time, but then is drawn back into the conflict between man and animal. And where does he stand? Where does he belong in that?
Like the Tarzan film from a couple of years ago.
It's Legend of Tarzan, yeah, but with Mowgli. And Benedict Cumberbatch doing Smaug, but with a tiger face.
Isn't he playing the Grinch soon as well?
He is, yeah, that's coming out next week or so. But
different voice.
Yeah, Shere Khan shows up and says, "Oh my, how you've grown," but it's Smaug, which I think's a slight misstep, really.
Okay. Confirmed, by the way, that it's going to be getting a limited release in cinemas on the 29th of November in Los Angeles, New York, San Francisco, and London, before being released globally by Netflix on the 7th of December. This is all, I assume, because they want to get it to qualify for certain awards categories. Do you think this is a bit of a con? Well, not a con, but it's a bit rich for Netflix to sort of say, oh, we're the exclusive streaming service, and yet we do want the kudos of winning awards, so we're going to show it in cinemas.
Yeah, and we said off air earlier on that I'm pretty sure it was Steven Spielberg who came out and spoke out against these kind of short-run cinema runs so that they qualify for awards, because he's very much a believer in you either make a film for the cinematic experience or you make it for another medium. You don't try and have a foot in both camps. But isn't that the future? Shouldn't Spielberg get with it?
I was going to say, so Spielberg's been completely against the release of home video and DVD and Blu-ray, that he wanted it. People see it in the cinema and that's it.
Well, I think it just means primarily, as in you either creating it for that wow factor or you create it for something else. So I don't think he's got anything as you watch it on your telly afterwards. But just the idea of
cinema, though.
Yeah, the kind of loophole of let's release it out in the cinema, so therefore we can qualify ourselves for an Oscar. But to be fair, given the talent that's involved, and particularly it's Andy Serkis doing, as you say, mocap like no other, it would be a shame for it not to be recognised, because visually you can't argue with it. My problem is that visually it looks a lot like the Disney one. Fair enough, it won't have the songs in it,
Well, the Disney one, to be fair, didn't really have the song.
It had a kind of half singing.
Okay.
And Max Schreck did a really good version of I Want to Be Like You.
Did he? Bruce Wayne, why are you dressed up like Batman?
Don't say the line?
Say the line.
Because he is Batman, you moron. Longer than last week, but that's what I like about this, is that we're not limited by time.
Well, we are. Well, no, on an existential sort of level, we are, aren't we?
Well, absolutely. I mean, we're all slowly dying second by second. But
HWD Hospital Radio, everybody.
we're an hour on HWD, but if we overrun, we can put the extended version on the network on YouTube.
Spielberg wouldn't like it.
He wouldn't. Awards?
Awards.
All right, so it's been an absolute pleasure. Do take care of yourself. We hope to, well, not hear from you, you'll hear from us next week.
That sounded a bit threatening, didn't it?
In a very loving way, like someone would come round with a care package and say, how are you? Here, have some fruit.
Bruce Wayne, why are you dressed like Batman?
Because he is Batman, you melon. Until next time, take care. Ta-ra now.
Bye, everybody.